Big ideas start with a spark. At Tassi's, we use that spark to ignite the fire in ourselves and our kids. So with the trust we build and the knowledge we share, we can grow together and stand tall, creating opportunities to advance in business while setting an example for the next generation. Whether you are starting fresh in Portugal or expanding globally, we're here to support each other. This is more than a network. We are a community that sets the examples for the leaders of tomorrow.
And so this notion of innovation adoption has been in civilization forever. Think about agriculture, iron, printing press, you name it, internet. Down in 1962, a gentleman named Everett Rogers came up with this model of technology or innovation adoption. You've seen this before. I'm pretty sure not because you come from the 62, but you've seen this before. Innovation adoption goes always kind of the same way. First, we have the enthusiasts, the people that lean in and want to get into the technology. Then the early adopters want to play with the technology a little bit more cautious. Then the early majority, late majority, and then finally the risk averse, the people that want to take it with more calm and wait until everybody else has experimented. I was going to say failed, but go with the technology when they're sure. Now, let's zoom in a little bit on this part here. Down in the 90s, Geoffrey Moore wrote a book about crossing the chasm, and he identified this bit here, the passage between the early majority, the early adopters and to the early majority had a lot of blockers. Not everybody could make it to the other side. What we've been learning over these years is that this is not a function of the technology itself or the innovation itself. It's a function of the technology, but also a function of the country, the market, and the industry, and its ability to absorb this technology and put it to work for the productive tissue and put it to produce more value. When that happens, we see what we call the diffusion of that technology. When it doesn't happen, the technology fades away, or the innovation fades away, and then we see what we call diffusion deficit. Sometimes a function of the technology, but more often than not, a function of other factors. I'll take you back to 1878. Thomas Edison lit up a smaller version of this bulb. It looks really big here. And that very moment, for the people standing there, I'm sure they would have thought, well, this is a technology that will change, definitely will change the way we do things, will change the world in a way. However, for this technology to work, it needed what we call a technology stack. We need production, you need electricity distribution, you need appliances, you need people trained to use these appliances to make them work. In other words, you need a whole chain of components to take advantage of this innovation. After this day and for the 150 years that followed that moment, wherever electricity went, prosperity followed, but not in an equal manner. Not all the countries were able to get the same output, the same productivity increase, and GDP per capita increased in some places more than in others as a result of this productivity increase. And even tonight, roughly 750 million people won't be able to light up a bulb in the world. So obviously, I'm talking about all things here, but the parallelism with this new wave of innovation, with artificial intelligence, is there. And the same way we build a technology stack for electricity or for any other general purpose tool, the world is building a new technology stack that is sitting on layers that have already been built, but is building new layers from chips and data centers to submarine cables to models, applications, developers, and so on. The whole stack needs to be rebuilt across the world. But we're building this with two things in mind, the very important things in mind. Number one, we don't have 150 years. We can't wait that long. And number two, it needs to be inclusive. It has to be something that everybody can use. And these are something we think a lot at Microsoft when we design our products and our services, but also when we look at the world. In a very simplistic fashion, right now, we see these components into 3 blocks. Infrastructure, the people building energy, building data centers, submarine cables, power plants. Then the models, the actual SLMs and the LLMs that are propelling this innovation, they're giving the power to generative AI to function. And then, of course, the users, people taking advantage and put this technology to work. It's interesting to see when we look at where's the infrastructure and who's building that infrastructure overwhelmingly skewed into the United States and China. Besides the social, political situation or whatever, if you take a step back, these 2 countries are actually building, Europe is actually number 3 with 10%, hopefully improving, but they're building that foundation at a global scale. And that's really important to see how these 2 or 3 countries are trying to lead this race. When you look at the models, the next layer, also very interesting. There's a very, very tight race here. A race of 7, unfortunately. It's just 7 of them that are actually competing there. The US, Korea, China, France, they are at the very top. When you look at this chart, besides the complexity and the colors, you can see that the models there's something really strange happening. The models are actually getting much faster, much better, and much cheaper in a very short period of time, in a year and a half. Look at the performance and cost equation. It's actually really, really improving. If you were to look at this race in a month scale, down here, if we were to say, okay, today the most performing model is a US built OpenAI GPT-5. The next one is only 5.3 months away to this performance. And you get 7 months is France is 7 months, and even the furthest away is only 11.6 months to get to this performance, which tells you this is a race of 7, but it's a race of 7 that is actually very, very rapid, very fast, and actually changing places all the time. And it's going to continue the pace. Unfortunately, only a race of 7. I wanted to talk about my favorite part of the equation here, which is the users. Remember who's building the infrastructure and who's building the models. Now, we have telemetry from around the world, and we are evaluating who is using AI the most. Not just in numbers, not just in an average, a mathematic average, in many, many factors. We come up with these numbers and who uses the most. So look, take a look at, interestingly, the list looks very big here, sorry for this. But if you look at the top 3 countries in terms of usage of AI, they're none of the 7 that I was talking before, none of the 2 that are building the infrastructure. In fact, the US is in I think number 23, 24, and China is a number 60 on them. Portugal is 35, we're getting there. But look at the top 3. These people have no interest in racing the infrastructure race, no interest in racing the models, but they have racing and they're winning the diffusion race. They're winning the taking the technology and putting it to deliver value. By working better in education, by working better in prototyping, by working better in taking that technology and that innovation and making sure it lands and it delivers value right across instead of anything else. In these countries and everywhere, but in these countries in particular, organizations are doing 4 things with AI, more or less. Their employees more productive, they're giving them tools to be more productive. They're trying to rethink the way they connect with us. If you're customers of certain services, you can see today there is a new way you can interact via AI in some of the services. Is going to get better, hopefully. Then the third thing will be take your business processes and make them more efficient. Take your business processes and try to make process cheaper, faster, better. And last but not least, putting AI on research and accelerating this curve of innovation. Think about drug development, think about disease control and so on. There's a huge improvements being there by some of these countries that I was referring to before. We look at the frontier firm, or the frontier, the firm of the future. We are right now in this first phase of human plus AI. I think everybody here is already living this phase, whether privately or personally or in business. Every human have an assistant, AI assistant. We're entering though into this next phase, which is agents that can perform more complex actions. They can do more complex tasks on behalf of the humans. They still need some human intervention. And very, very soon, we're going to come into the third phase, which is some humans will be directing autonomous agents, will be working on their behalf on several tasks. Those agents will have an identity, will have a security, will have business rules, and will act as another resource person of the company. In fact, you think about diversity in the workplace, we are starting to talk about another dimension that comes in, which is humans versus AI or robots that could come. For some of us, right now I think I have 10 people working in my team and 3 agents of these. It's part of the team. We're not yet inviting them to dinner and stuff, but we're getting there. McKinsey took a look at the hours, the work that has been done today, and took a shot to say, well, how much is automatable? How much can we give to agents or robots? 57% of it, it's either in the physical or non-physical world, can be offloaded to agents or can be offloaded to robots in the physical part. Interesting. Well, the humans will keep 47% of those tasks. That is clear. So first, we'll see there'll be a balance, or more or less 50-50 tasks that we will be doing. The question is which ones, and we'll get to that. The question is which ones are they going to take and we are going to take. Now, very interesting as well, the second pass of the study, they look at the social and emotional capabilities that are needed in this type of tasks. Yes, we don't expect our robots to have a lot of social and emotional ability, but an AI, a non-physical agent, we might need as much emotional capabilities as a human being in a physical world, or as a human being per se. When you think about putting this to work and putting this to talk to my customers or to my employees, well, definitely we need to factor this emotional bit into the equation. Think about the new ways of diversity and the new multi-vectors and the vectors of diversity that we can now experiment on. No longer, female, male, or racial, etc. Now we're going into robots, into agents, autonomous agents, and so on. We are actually playing with what are the guardrails that we give an agent, and who owns the agent, and this kind of questions that we're asking ourselves. I put an agent to work in a workplace, I own the agent, I'm responsible for its actions, but what if we share that agent with other 3 or 4 people? Who's responsible for what exactly? That's not a question that is quite resolved, something we're working on, but something that the businesses and the economies have to work on. 92 million jobs will disappear in the next 5 years. Actually, this is for 2030, so the next four and a half years, give it. 92 million jobs will disappear. Now, interestingly though, another 170 million jobs will be created, will be new jobs. 92 million professions and types of jobs will disappear. There'll be 170 million more. Just that itself is a huge change in the workforce. But the ones in the middle, they're also going to change. A lawyer of today won't be a lawyer in 5 years now. A trader of today won't be a trader in 5 years now, and so on. And so we're facing a huge transformation of the workforce on the verge of this new professions and not only in the new professions that are going to be created, but also in the existing professions that are going to change, and they are changing. World Economic Forum doesn't leave us there, thankfully. It tells us, well, here is the type of things that we are going to be looking into in the next years. Interesting from this table, if you look at the top 3 are definitely, the bar itself is the most wanted skill, less wanted skill, here on my right. The top 3 are definitely technology skills, not a surprise, AI, you need to have some technology literacy. But the next 7 or 10, if you look at them, are social and emotional skills, leadership, you name it, self-awareness, system thinking, emotional stewardship. Those are skills that we haven't been intentional on developing before. It is something that we need to start thinking about as we develop the next great diffusion of this technology, as we have seen. We have been telling, even technology companies have been telling our young people, go and learn developing, go learn developing applications and code. Not anymore. Because that is a task that most likely will going to be taken by an agent, a programming tool is easier and easier to develop applications today. And so that's the kind of shift that we need to start making now, the kind of shift that we need to start preparing for right now. I know there's a lot of questions here. I was thinking about this and I couldn't stop thinking about these people there looking at Edison bulb coming up and the emotion and the thinking of what they were witnessing. And I think we are witnessing kind of the same type of situation right now. Think about AI has been here, generative AI has been here for a couple of years now, give it 2 or 3 years. We're talking about the next 150 years. We are actually seeing the bulb coming up first time. How exciting this opportunity is for us to be witnessing this very moment, but how much responsibility we have to be leading the next generations through what's going to come, to prepare us all for the great diffusion of this new wave of innovation. I will leave you with a note of optimism. I'm an optimist. I was down here and listening to this conversation. There was more optimism than anything else. I will leave you with the same note, an invitation to get into mission because the future is right now. Thank you very much. Have a good one.